Great and beautiful morning and evening to you all, wherever you are joining me at this hour. Welcome to 555 edition of Investigator Trading Academy Live with Ambrose. Good news, there's another full trading week of the month of October as any season has honestly kicked off in many of the matured economy. I will tell that the market at this hour in this matured economy are looking in green. Good opening for the first trading day of this week. Yes, like I said earlier, any season has started hit no kicked off in many of this market. I can see numbers coming, even some of them are impressive. While some also sentiment of either one report from one economy, but good news that also seen that some macro economy that data that are hitting this market are looking up. We're seeing improvement in this number. That is also a hope for the market, especially this earnings season. Why here back in Nigeria? Looking at Africa, Sahara Africa, we're seeing that yes, Nigeria market have extended. It's also straight 3 days rally, if I would say, after a 2 days trend or so, in the between on the between the 15th and 16th of the month of October, we're seeing on an uptick now as we speak right away. But what is a good news for the market that we're seeing about the volume that are supporting this market as we speak in the in Africa market, especially in Nigeria, is not as impressive as we have seen when we saw the rally, within the last quarter, the third quarter rally. But the volume this last quarter of the year, yes, market is looking up, but volume is far below what we saw in the last quarter, which is Q3 during that is the last quarter of the year of last quarter of third quarter. Let me put it that way. No, already in the fourth quarter. What happened in third quarter? Looking at the from the month of June to the month of September, we saw a strong volume in the market. As we speak now in Nigeria market, the volume was seen in this first trading month of the last quarter of the year is not as compared to what we saw in the early quarters, which is Q3. But let's wait and see as we look onto what the Q3 number. As many factors are supporting the market, I'll tell that also there are some selling the opposition in the market that people are looking at, especially when it comes to what the new tax regime of this government, how it's going to discourage some investors, both local and foreign investors, in terms of the rate coming with a 30% capital gain tax. That has started sending signal, even when we have seen good numbers. I see that the volume are still in the market. Yet many people are still waiting with what they buy. They've not sold. That's why you're not seeing much. But I'll tell you all out and say, what can the government do? Because I think if this government is listening government, a market where we are encouraging the economy that is not recovering, such kind of a task will also discourage both the institutional investor that we are looking at, even the money we want to intend to keep in the market, because we need to start from somewhere. The 30% or 20% capital tax gain is already shaking both local and foreign, and will win this to see whether they will lead the market for the government or they continue in this direction. I think it's time that the government look at it and see what can we do at this time. I think that was shaping the market now. That's why we're not seeing volume. People are still waiting to see what will be done on or before what the commencement of this task from 2026. Is there going to be an extension? There's for implementation. I think that's what they are waiting to see. Because if not, I think the kind of movement we have seen in the market, if this tax issue is not addressed before no implementation, that will also send the market on another dimension. Yes, the numbers are looking good. Prices have gone up. But I believe that this tax issue is what is keeping them. And I tell you that in our market, I tell you that this market is a one-way market. When you see people selling, you must send the other market, the market is the other way. But let's go back to what to the mature market. I want international market as usual to see what is happening there. Looking at what is happening Asia. Good news that Asia market has opened on a positive note. I won't lie, this is a good one for the market. In Asia, the stock market in that environment, and also the stock prices in that also environment or domain are looking up sharply this morning. Kind of we tell that investors in any part of the world are always driven by what? By one information or the other. Sentiment are driven by what? Information, and also where money is flowing to. As we speak now, Japan is leading in terms of market. Japan stock have such seriously this morning on the new prime minister bets, and also we saw improve macroeconomic data in the place of GDP for China. These are the things that also are kind of fuel the market. Even also when Trump have also given a signal that they might likely reduce the the tariff for China, and discussion is still ongoing. These are the things also that have continued work to kind of impact this Asia market positively after fear of a tariff when Trump also say might likely give a 100% tariff. All this, as I speak, I can see that market is where you can keep your eyes on your chart, where all this nothing information come, find work for filtering this noise. And this class will discuss how to filter market noise. Don't forget it. Always put it in action because it's all part of what you can use to stay ahead of this market or to stay in the market despite the noise or the oscillation or the word change in sentiment up and down. Yes, like I said earlier, that Asia market advanced trading the fourth trading day of the week with shares in Japan hitting a record high. New one betting on what on the physical no what call the figure of on the physical expectation of the prime minister will also secure the premium chip of this. This also a part of what we're saying. Why that China market, as we speak, is looking up supported by what they slight improve in their economic data, especially like I mentioned GDP. Other stocks in that region, other markets in that region are also positive, led by what activities that happen in Wall Street after Trump on official struck report of a concentration tone on the brewing trade conflict with China. You can see when the concentration tone of Trump came, that also boosted confidence in this high level US talk US and China talk expected also to continue this week. That also give a lot of relief as we speak right now in the international market. Yes, I believe that this stuff front and back in terms of tariff is part of what I've shown, but I believe that finally before we cross into 2026, if all this Trump issue is resolved and figured out, I'll tell you years of Trump will also be counting the office. I'll tell you many of the market players economic forecasting which day is Trump leaving the office. I'll tell you as you enter, as if it's 100 years, 4 years is around the corner. Once you come to count 1 year in office, before you know it, that's why once the stability after this 1 year, that continue. We don't know the plan of the incoming government. That's why one thing that policy direction is very, very important. But for the global economy to kind of go with this tariff issue and all this trade balance here and there, is a time of challenging time for the global market but or global economy, but we're seeing that with time things also fall in place. Yes, like I said today earlier that we're seeing more Q3 number, major tech fundamentals are coming ahead today in this market, especially this week we're supposed to see more stock earnings or corporate earnings in Asia market as we speak. That also help will help the market also to remain in operation. Like I said, that Japan Nikkei 225 surged by 3% to record a high over 49,000 points as we speak. For me, it's a good one. Why the top S index jumped by over 2% also to maintain a new record high in that market. Yes, I believe that also the local media there also are kind of in Japan, updating what is happening in terms of the Liberal Democratic Party and others. That also is kind of backing from the alliance of the coalition government with the prime minister. This are also let's see how it's going to play out. But I believe that at the end of the day, there will be light at the tunnel. But I believe that since late September, we are seeing up and down stock market in Japan rallying, bet of what on a more accommodative what condition under the premiership of the prime minister. Let's see how it goes and all this also play out in that region. Yes, like I said earlier, that China stocks were in green as a result of a positive GDP, while Hong Kong also rally on the renewed buying strength what in tech environment. We saw a rebound in tech stock in Hong Kong that also impacted that market, even as Chinese GDP grew by 4.8 on year in Q3, slightly above the forecast of 4.7. Yes, on quarter basis, also beat expectation. That's why we are seeing as about. I tell you, China growth remain above 5% annual target, which is also good for them, even when it is slow. But this also sustain a good report for them that the economy, even with all this tariff here and there, headwinds of increase the tariff or not here and there, but the economy has sustained momentum, which is also good for them. But like I said, if you look at what is happening in India, India market also is up in green, up by 0.5%. Good one for India as we speak right away now. And these are what is happening in this market. Like I've mentioned Hong Kong already. Hong Kong index is up by 2.5% as we speak, extending the last Friday, rebound from what from tech companies that have sustained that market to this moment as we speak now. For us, I believe that Singapore also market, today as it's an holiday. It's an holiday in Singapore that the market there is closed, while Australia market is up by 0.5%. I've mentioned earlier that is the way forward. Earnings, most earnings are due this week in Asia, and that also will determine where the market will go. Most of the regional companies are expected to release their numbers, especially in China and India. If this company report results, that will also have influence in that market. Naturally, you can see also that in the commodity market, we are seeing a kind of a pullback again in that market as fear of what likely what growth. When I mean growth, over supply. That is part of what the fear was seeing, in that commodity market. We go back to see what is happening in Europe market. Europe market, as we speak, is in green, rising on also, coupled with the strong gains we are seeing in Asia. All these boosted the sentiment in European market as we speak, starting the new week on a positive note, boosted by gain in what in Asia ahead of what release of range of what of earnings. These are the things that will shape this market right away. Today that Germany index, which is a DAX index, is up by 1% as we speak. YCAC in France is up also by 0.5%, and that of FTSE 100 in UK or UK market is up by 0.4 as we speak. Most of these European indices close sharply lower on Friday, but as we speak now, Friday as a result of concern of US banking and also the fear of Trump and Beijing activities in terms of tariff. But this one was that the sentiment has changed. We are seeing that most of this US regional banks are also rebounded, gradually helping investors to kind of see a direction where they are going in the new week ahead of what more numbers, as I've said earlier. For me, it's a good news, but what is happening politically, in that region has also keep the market up and down. But nevertheless, Japan, where we are seeing these political activities, is also having a gain. We are seeing the overnight gain is almost like I mentioned earlier, 3% up to really for 49,000. That is a good word forward for Indian market as we speak. I've mentioned about China's economy looking up for the third quarter of the year. That's a good news, but I tell you that more eyes are what on the company earnings, as these companies' numbers will determine further where this market will go, especially as most markets are scheduled today, Thursday, and Friday, for more companies to hit their market, to reach the results, to hit the market. Especially, we expect to see Unilever number in Europe, also to see the Reuters result, also London Bank and also earnings have been expected, while all that of Wall Street we expect to see Tesla and that's also Ford, General Motors, the Leftless, all these are earnings that are expected this week. We expect to see Coca-Cola, Procter and Gamble, all of them are expected to see. Could see also IBM results and Intel. All these are expected. These are the results that will shape this market as we speak. Just as also all eyes are on one number here in Nigeria to see where these companies are going. Yes, we look at what is happening in US entirely. I tell you always that when US sneeze every other market as cool. But this now you can see that the US have also rallied in direction with the other mature markets we have discussed earlier. US market is up. We're seeing that most of the indices there are jumping up in green. Hope of what the renewed the renewed trade conflict negotiation between the US, United States, and China. This is what also have supported the market. Whereas the new data shows that Apple has 7 and others have outperformed each percentage by 4% during this the first 10 days of availability in US and also in China. These are the things that also part of what is supporting what is happening. But good thing that yes, also seeing that some deals are also going. See beautiful these within the companies in this economy. These are a good one. But like I said earlier, I see that if you look at what is happening, I can tell you that that S&P is up by 0.5, and that of NASDAQ, Dow Jones is up by 0.4, and that of another tech company is up by 0.6. Good that all these market averages or what we call indices are also advancing up. Good news, and as market also digest the proposed 3 digit tariff and all those stuff on China, and also sustainable, is it going to go? There are lots of activities also, as even as also out of Beijing also for recent trying to see that they look back and consider expanding control over some critical things, and export. All these are the things that they're all looking at. And I believe that the US president and also China president also be looking at it, even as we expect also to South Korea and all of them to look into this. To me that this issue tariff is also resolved before the year runs out. That's a good one to start in 2026. If everything is sorted out this year, the market for those economies that have no inflation, sorry, there's no election, will be a bit stable, and the world economy will have also a direction as a 2026 by God grace. Yeah, for China economy, I've mentioned it that there's also consider that there's a growth, even though that growth is slow. For the past 2 years, the pace of growth in China has been very slow. But growth that they are looking up, they are not contracting, or they are not, they're just stagnated. That is also one thing they should also have. And then look at what is happening in an alternative market like gold. I think that gold have remained stable. Now gold is almost trading around around 4,270.69 by as we speak now, which is a good one. And the peak of this has been 4,379.1.44 as at last week. Good news, I can see that it just stabilized right away. Let's see how far it goes. And I mentioned commodity market before now. What's happening in terms of oversupply, like that also is weighing on the price of crude oil in the matured market. Yes, let's come to South Africa market that we speak. If you look at Africa markets, there's I can say that most of these markets in Africa are in green. You ask yourself why. As companies are releasing their third quarter results in Africa market, that's also influencing the numbers in terms of price. That's why we are seeing market looking up in that regard. Let's see how it goes. But if you come back to Nigeria, I've said it earlier, Nigeria market is looking up as we speak now. Our index is extending. Higher for me is a good one for the for the Nigeria market right away. That we are seeing that our index is also trading above 149,000 after he did the same thing on Friday, pulling back to close marginally below. But as we speak now, that surpassed the 149,038. It tested last week. Now market is doing 149,680. 0.06, up by 702.28 basic point, representing 0.5 or 0.47 or 48, anything you want to put it. But for me, it's an extension that we can see more stocks lining up as gainers table, and that tells you that investors are, and not only gainers, they were seeing more high cap stock, which also supported this market, even after market have formed inverted and shoulder, and now has surpassed the previous peak and making a new high, heading toward 150,000 that was earlier forecast in invest data that and I'll tell you in a short time between now and tomorrow, more likely see the market touching the 150,000 mark, and that is good. But only fear I have here that the volume that I've seen, and also the increasing activities of commercial paper, which I've said earlier in one of the program, and also I see that the fear of also of implementation of the tax where the capital gain seem to be they seem to be high. Looking at the 30% or 20%, whatever I call it, that is also, I believe that if you really want to encourage investor, it's better to start with from 10, and you can also graduate it up. But not coming at the beginning, that will kind of discourage people. But if people understand from 10 to 20, that would take them to acclimatize with the system, and also don't forget that in an economy where you see tax it's also how the people perceive it. Is government doing enough to put people more courage to really go with the tax system, but which is also every economy need tax to support the government revenue or government implementation of policies and all those stuff. But I believe that yes, you look at also where we are coming from and also what are we seeing that the tax is doing in Nigeria is key. But if we really want to sustain this market that have kind of engaged a lot of people, that they are using to drive our expansion as a leading indicator, we need to also make sure that this market does not tumble from here. We need more stability. That also make the economy recover from what is that. Good news that we are still heading to where we can be seeing a 4% GDP. We have seen past how many years during the time of Obasanjo. If we can see this going to the future, that will also help to stabilize the market or the economy. We need to know better things that will support our market. That's why our leaders at the time should know exactly what to do. Yes, if you look at the market data as I just read, that the market is up by 0.47 or 0.5. You know what you want to how you want to put it. For me, it's a good news for our market now that we're seeing such a kind of an uptick in the market. If you look at the factors that are driving the market, there have been some positive cases for the market, and also I mentioned some few cases that I've seen is also a bigger cases. One is what the business activities of commercial paper, and at the same time the implementation of implementation of a tax sorry from 2026. Even when we expect to see better earnings, how will this one influence the market positively or not? I think that's why we expect our economic managers to think twice and look at all this decision and when it's time implementation, how it's going to play what on the market as we speak. Look at the market now, say that the market is having about 19 gainers, while also we are seeing around the 16, to 19 gainers and 16 losers right away in the market. We're seeing high cap like Boasment, we are seeing a high cap like we are seeing Dangote Sugar Abandon, we are seeing also the life of Arade on the gainers, that are seeing Nigeria Brewery. I see the GTCO, Zenith Bank at this hour. We are not surprised that the market is heading to 150,000 mark. This as a leader 149,680 at this point. The possibility of getting to 150 on or before the close of trade tomorrow is high. It's possible today as we expect to see more cap, more stock looking up also again. Let's keep our finger crossed and see where the market is going from here. But good news that yes, I see that investors are really looking at where they can cherry pick stock that has fundamental and have value also to deliver the future, and that is how to invest. Yes, quick word. Look at the company's number that we have today. We have the life of Infinite Trust Mortgage as one of the numbers we are discussing today, and that of Okomu. Yes, let's start with these numbers. We'll now come and look at their chart. As we'll round up gradually. But let's look at these numbers first to give us an insight what this company have done. I know that most of you over the weekend have listened to one or two discussion on this Okomu. We want to look at it at this platform and also look at what is happening also in Infinity Trust, and that is how you should also prepare yourself that as these numbers are coming, any season comes with a lot of varieties of numbers, and it comes, some number will beat expectation, some will come below the market expectation. What are you doing to float with this? That will also go a long way to determine what kind of money you'll be making in this market at any given time. But once you look away from the market, you are shooting yourself at the leg. We'll start with Infinity Trust Mortgage Bank. Let's quickly record the figure up so you can look at it together. Yes, if you look at this number, that's why I always come to see the raw figure here, you see it for yourself. But I'll tell you that in all this, you look at the company performance, you must read out something that is very interesting that will help you to know where the company is going. Either I call it turnover or revenue, anything, we're talking the same thing. If you look at this company, top line and bottom line, you know that something is already happening. Looking at the income statement or profit and loss account. If you look at for the period of January to September and January to September 2024, you notice there's a leap in terms of performance. Like I tell you that this company has grown the top line with nothing less than what with almost 50%, 4.9%, 49.9% up. That is good. That is almost more than double of inflation figure today. And you can see that the movement of the growth were from 3.1 billion to 4.5 or 4.6. Anyway, want to put it 4.58, 4.6 billion. This is a very, for me, is very encouraging. And if you look at the company, for the 90 days, if you also go back to look at the three for the hotel for the last quarter, I say from from July to September, you can see also there is also an improvement in this as we speak. You can see that this is a growth from that regard, and this also helping will help you to make a lot of insight in your decision. Your decision. For me, it says that this company is really expanding, and this is one of the company that is cool in that sector. But the only kind of for me, it's concerned that this is a company that moved from as low as 2 naira to 7 naira. The debt has started at that place, not coming down, not going up. Just started there for a long time. But we'll see if these numbers will start changing the movement. Because this third quarter number is very, very important to give an insight what is likely to happen. After this number, I've given you, compare the numbers we are seeing with what they had doing, what they've done in full year 2024. That will also give you a good, insight to know where to be. But I believe that with this number, we expect to see better than at the end of the day if all this number is sustained toward, in the last quarter of the year. But I believe that with the movement I'm seeing, nothing will happen, then we're going to see another, positive number. But if you look at all the other figures, but like tell you like here in this class, you look at the top line, then before you get to your PhD, all that cost of finance, either interest income, which are all deducted, the income expenses, commission, and all those stuff, commission expenses. You see all of them here. But at the end of the day, what is the profit? Before tax. After you have seen the profit before tax, they give you, if you look at the profit from profit before tax for this company, it moved from 1.33 billion to 2.180 billion. That is also huge. And I'll tell you, these are the figures that are supported all this at the end of the day. That profit before tax is about almost 63% up in the green. And this trend also has started even when you factor in what the profit, the tax. At the end of the day, the company also posted a better number. If you look at all the profit after tax, tax expense also was up from 30 million from 30 million to 90.78 million. You can see this also, despite this increment in terms of tax, tax expense, we are seeing that the company still retain almost a 69% growth, 60% growth in their bottom line from 1.30 billion to 2.09 billion. Good one, and these are translated to an earning per share of of 66 kobo. You can see it here, earning per share of 60 kobo against the earning per share of 41 kobo in the previous year. For me, it's a good one for this market. And if you look at other, what we call a statement from financial position, looking at what the balance sheet, I will tell you that the balance sheet also was up. Let's quickly look at the balance sheet here to see that this balance sheet is not looking bad at all. Balance sheet of this company was up. Consider the total assets period is up by almost 58%. Up from when we look at the total assets from 24. We're not talking about, look at the current period to period, to almost 24 billion to 0.03 billion to 37.93. That, like I said, is almost 58%. This is also a good news for me. And also we know that yes, in that same direction, we saw also an uptick in also in liability. But at the end of the day, what matters that what is the total equity, which is what we call net assets, liability, assets minus liability. That is very, very important. I said that the total equity or net asset was up by 40% for the for 9 months of the year. For me, it's a good one for this company, and investors should also look at it that way. But we also look at your technical position. Like I said, that the price has been a bit stagnant and also not unchanged all this while. But we want to see if this kind of positive number can have impact on this company. But on the whole, let's look at the cash flow of this company is very, very important. Looking at the cash flow of the company will give you an insight what you also be expecting at the end of the day. In this cash flow, you can see that also there's a changes also in the working capital of this company. That when we are looking at your operating cash flow, that will also help you to see. If you look at the cash generated from operation, So it's still negative, but this negative has increased. And don't forget that it's also a related company like bank, like I tell you, and a mortgage bank for that. You can see that we have seen a lot of from almost just you know 600 300 million here. You can see 861 no million, because you can see almost 4.57 billion, no, all in negative. But good one that yes, it's a financial institution, a banking for that matter, mortgage bank. We also know the implication of this and also what they have done. Also, we can see cash flow for investment activities and also for finance activities. Those are also not looking bad. Those ones are also in positive position from a negative angle. For me, we have to keep our eyes on this company. We quickly go to the Okomu oil. I'll tell you this Okomu oil or the industry have turned to like we were saying in one of our group. This company has started producing. This sector is also releasing what their value today is even more than crude oil in terms of the global scarcity, and at the same time see that yes, insecurity in Nigeria have kept a lot of people away from the farm to have access to for this organized company that has their plantation either first or with a strong security. They have access to do their for those that are out bush anywhere because of banditry and insurgents. Most of them are away from the farm, and that is why we're seeing all this cost jumping. But if you look at it, figure that are coming here, I see Okomu exporting any dollar here. The market is already here. They can't even satisfy the market. These are the things reflecting on this number. Also, a good performance, in the last 3 months of Okomu. We are not surprised because we are seeing, this stable growth or performance, in their performance before now, and who would read that other companies in that industry should also do the same thing. And at the end of the day, you know where we are standing. Yes, we are seeing. If you look at this figure, you can see the 3 months performance here from 28 0.9 billion in 2024. We are moved towards 44.12 billion in 2024. That also translated to 9 months performance of about 173.595 billion against 130.195 billion. You can see this massive growth of over, I'll tell you, 67% up for 9 days. This is a good one. You can see that the company, CPO price are also along, what have impacted is with good volume. We are seeing, decent volume that turnover or turnout that also have impacted this performance. And I believe that we're going to see more if all this insecurity continue, but that is not what we expect as a nation that want to do, because we need to see price tightening down. But now, because of insecurity, scarcity in the international market, price of crude oil have remained above even the crude oil price. If I say oil price in Nigeria, petroleum price in Nigeria, because of what the importance of that, and also the limited supply that the market have kept price up. We want insecurity to go down in Nigeria so that farmers can go back, and that will naturally also bring the revenue. For these two companies, because they already have their market, we don't see no more. But also seeing a slowdown, inflation is also possible that also improve consumption, and that also is also what also are also seeing at the end. But I'll tell you that this number is very impressive. Top line, like I said, almost trying to 3 times of inflation today is a good one for me. No, more than even 3 times of inflation. 67 is huge. But if you look at cost of sale was up from 44.64 billion to 61.87 billion. And like I said, that your concern is more after company are taking care of their operating tasks, cost of sales, and then the pay government tasks. The what is left is also what every investor is looking at. But in this regard, even when cost of also we have seen the kind of a reduction and cost of what of finance from about 8.75 billion to 2.32 billion. That is a very good drop. It shows that yes, as we are seeing, cost of borrowing also coming out with the latest drop about 50 basis points. For that was a good one that this company have know how to manage their costs of dropping from 8.75 billion to 2.32 billion. For me, it's a good one. At the end of the day, if you look at the profit before tax, or yeah, profit before tax, can see that it switch about 84.1 billion against 40.68 billion. the end of the day, you can see that this company have not done badly at all. And I'll tell you, when you factor in the tax that we pay, it gives you an answer that also we're seeing a lot of improvement in what in Okomu. If you look at the growth in the bottom line, which is where everybody is interested, that growth is more than 100%, 112%, no, 113% growth in the top line, the bottom line, while the top line was about 67.2. No, this is huge and it speaks volume. And also the company I recommend an entry dividend of what of 10 naira in addition to the early 30 naira they pay. That is, for me for the year so far, that's 14 naira, and this is also huge. Comparing the price that just crossed 1,000 around 1,002, we expect with this number, we expect that price should go up a little again. But I believe that the investors should pay more attention to these numbers as they come. That will guide them in taking decision for the day. Then if you see that any per share that move from 29, or let's say 30 naira to 33, 30 naira to 63 naira any per share, and out of it, 40 naira has gone to what to shareholders. You can see that at the end of the year, if you are seeing this company making 80 naira or 85 naira, you expect to see another 20 naira at the end of the year, we're seeing about 60 naira dividend for share. And this is good, and also to support the price of the stock. And because our time is fast spent, we don't look at the asset. The asset is not doing badly, but seeing that they are also strengthening their asset. If you look at the total assets of this company from from 50, sorry, the total asset of this company. Okay, let's start with the current assets. We see also current assets. We see the current liability. Then so you can also total assets. But at the end of the day, the net assets of this company has also total net assets has moved from 55.48 toward to 62.40. And I think that is also a good one to say. We are seeing stability in their work in their in their balance sheet. They have a positive. Also, if you look at the operating cash flow for this company, and this is what I always tell you that when you say company earning is going up in the north and cash flow is in that direction, it gives you a lot of hope of sustainability, and that is the key of every long-term investor. Will the end of this company be sustained? If you look at the operating cash flow from Okomu, it speaks volume. Okomu cash flow have moved from 30.57 billion to 76.2 billion. No, it tells you that their short-term liability all is scoring well as earnings is going up, cash flow is going up. I mean, you can see more, expect to see more performance going to the future. On this note, I will say thank you because our time is fast spent. Already been rolling their hands since almost 8 minutes. But I want to stop here. I'll say see you on Wednesday, and that will be the last for this week. I will be around the upper so that we'll prepare ourselves that after Wednesday class we'll be seeing on Monday the upper week. But then we'll also be looking at the earnings. Whatever I am, I'll also be relating that we have to see how to carry you along in terms of awareness in the market. Yeah, I'll say thank you and bye for now. You were unable to go back to our chat to finish the day, but I tell you, I've given insight that the market is still trending up. We'll do more on Wednesday. Thank you and God bless you all. Bye.